Why fasting attracts God. 2 things you should never do while fasting. God created the human body as a highly tuned physical engine of immense power, but it needs fuel to keep running. This fuel is known as food. God created in us an appetite for food, known as hunger, to ensure that the body is fueled. Food satisfies our appetites and provides us with energy as part of nature's balance to keep life moving. So why would anyone choose to go hungry in modern times? We are conditioned to eat 3 times a day and are constantly reminded that a hearty breakfast is the foundation of the day. Eat so you can be strong, we were taught at school. Eat 3 full meals a day and exercise to be strong. So why skip meals? The world calls not eating a diet and often does it to lose weight or for health reasons, but some abstain from eating for spiritual reasons. This is referred to in the Bible as fasting. A fast is typically undertaken for a set period of time to achieve a spiritual goal. Consider the following example from the Old Testament. Once a year, faithful Jews were required to fast. Leviticus 16 verse 29, "And this shall be a statute forever for you. In the 7th month, on the 10th day of the month, you shall afflict your souls and do no work, whether one of your own country or a foreigner who sojourns among you." The Yom Kippur fast, because this fast was observed on the Day of Atonement, is known as the Yom Kippur fast, the phrase meaning Day of Atonement. God required his people to fast once a year on the Day of Atonement. Everyone fasted. Why? Because God wanted everyone to remember the solemn experience of their salvation on the Day of Atonement. The high priest entered the Holy of Holies and offered the blood of an animal in exchange for everyone's sins. Leviticus 16 verse 4, "And he shall wash his flesh with water in the holy place, and put on his garments, and go out, and offer his burnt offering and the burnt offering of the people, and make atonement for himself and for the people." As the Day of Atonement dealt with the sins of the nation, everyone fasted to identify with the high priest, who sacrificed a lamb for the forgiveness of their sins. Jesus said to his disciples, "When you fast," Matthew 6 verses 16 to 18. "When fasting, do not present a sad countenance like the hypocrites, for they disfigure their faces to show others that they are fasting. Truly, I tell you, they have already received their full reward. But when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face, so that it is not obvious to others that you are fasting, but only to your Father who is hidden, and your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you." When you give up food, both pleasurable and necessary, you attract God's attention. Even then, Jesus warned us not to show off our fasting. Jesus warned his disciples not to fast seeking public acclaim. The fact that he says when you fast indicates that he considers fasting a legitimate spiritual discipline. Fasting is temporarily abstaining from a bodily desire, usually food, in favor of a spiritual need. Instead of eating, you devote yourself to secret prayer, seeking God's intervention in the spiritual realm. However, if your goal in avoiding food is for others to praise your spiritual appearance, then their approval will be your reward. If you've never fasted before, the idea of going without food for any length of time can be scary. People have varying concerns because we are programmed to eat 3 times a day. Many wonder if they will feel hungry and whether hunger pangs will be painful. Others have different concerns. How can they be supported? They don't want to embark on a journey they can't complete. What if you see a TV commercial suggesting that a chocolate bar will help you overcome an afternoon energy slump? Others worry about how their friends will perceive them if they fast. Will my friends think I'm weird if they find out I'm fasting? The answer is simple. You don't fast to impress your friends, and you usually don't even let them know. As mentioned earlier, Jesus said, "When you fast, anoint your head and wash your face so that it is not obvious to others that you are fasting, but only to your Father who is hidden, and your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward openly." Matthew 6 verses 17 to 18. Jesus was reminding us not to make an outward spectacle of our religious devotion to God. Instead, fasting is a private commitment between you and God. You can fast in private and not tell anyone. Other times, you may participate in a public fast, such as with your church or another individual, to address an issue. Ezra fasted with 4,000 people, and Esther asked all Jewish believers to fast through divine intervention. Every year in May, Christians are invited to participate in the National Day of Prayer and Fasting. What is fasting? Fasting is not the same as dieting, nor is it about eliminating food for health reasons. There are many types of fasts for spiritual reasons and many reasons to fast and associate the experience with prayer. Fasting is a biblical discipline that can help anyone improve their spiritual fitness and become a prayer warrior for God. Some believe that Christians do not require discipline. However, we build our strength through spiritual exercises. We must remember that we are soldiers of Christ. A good soldier is proficient in a variety of disciplines. Fasting is just one of the many disciplines of a Christian. Jesus told his disciples that when they pray for others, be it for their church or for people's you're fasting, because fasting, like climbing a mountain, requires both spiritual and physical effort. Start this journey with a clear understanding of what you are doing and the knowledge that the path may be arduous, but the rewards will be worth it. Start small if this is your first fast. God will honor your first step of faith, which may seem small to others, but will be a big step for you. God also cares about how your heart reacts during fasting. Your attitude is a very important part of your fast. Just like when a man proposes to a woman, it is not the duration of the proposal that gets a yes, but the heart behind it. Therefore, when you start fasting, don't worry about the duration of the fast. Just make sure your relationship with God is in good order. God knows everything. He understands and values the sincerity of your prayers more than their length. If you have never fasted before, start with a fast by skipping a meal. In the Old Testament, Jews were required to fast for 1 day on Yom Kippur each year, a day that began at sundown and ended at sundown the next day, according to the Jewish calendar. God taught the Jews to number their days so that the evening and the morning were the first day, Genesis 1 verse 5. Plan to start your fast when the sun sets, or perhaps just before sunset. This means you'll skip your regular evening meal, then skip breakfast and lunch the next day. After sunset, most Jews ended their fast by eating a normal meal. Fasting with a companion. Although private prayer and fasting are the basis of all intercession, if you have never walked this path before, you may want to begin your fasting journey with someone else. If you are fasting for a specific answer to prayer, invite someone to pray and fast with you. There is strength in numbers, as Jesus said in Matthew 18 verses 18 to 19. Truly I say to you, whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Again, verily you I say that if 2 of you on earth agree about anything they ask, it will be done for them by my Father who is in heaven. These verses are not just about prayer, they are also about the commitment we make in agreement with another person. Think of it this way: when you plan a vacation with someone else, it's more memorable if you plan, dream, and share experiences together. When you share your vacation with someone else, you probably enjoy it more. The same goes for fasting. When you share the experience of fasting and praying together, your prayers tend to be more focused. Fasting with another person, on the other hand, has additional benefits. You have someone to discuss your doubts, questions, and fears with. If fasting intimidates you, someone else's strength can help you overcome it. You can always call each other for advice and check how you're doing. That phone call can give you the motivation you need to keep going. Don't forget the celebration. When you climb a mountain alone, you're doing it to prove something to yourself, and the victory is entirely yours. But when you climb with others, you have lots of people to celebrate with you when you reach the top. You celebrate, hug, and then come back to tell everyone about your victory. When you finish the fast, you can rejoice together. Simply being together makes victory taste good. For your first fast, do not start with absolute fasting, which is recommended for those who are deeply distressed or fasting to resolve a serious problem, such as freedom from an addiction or protection from a spiritual adversary. In normal fasting, you avoid all solid foods and drink only liquids. This type of fasting is the most mentioned in the Bible, indicating people who did not consume solid food. The issue of drinking fluids is often not mentioned. For example, during his days of fasting, Jesus ate nothing, and at the end, he was hungry, Luke 4 verse 2, but there is no mention of him drinking liquids. During a partial fast, you eliminate certain liquids or solids, but not all. This is also known as the Daniel fast because he refused food from the king's table and insisted on eating only vegetables and drinking water for 10 days, Daniel 1 verse 12. This fast did not harm Daniel or his friends. On another occasion, Daniel exemplified the spirit of partial fasting, Daniel 10 verse 3, where he did not eat preferred foods, did not touch meat or wine, and did not use lotions until the 3 weeks were over. This particular fast of Daniel avoided pleasant foods such as our cakes or donuts, meat, and wine. John Wesley, founder of the great Methodist movement, summoned all his itinerant preachers to the new chapel or to London for a conference every 2 or 3 months. To prepare spiritually for the conference, Wesley fasted for 10 days before each meeting, consuming only natural wholemeal bread and drinking water. He fasted and prayed for spiritual power to influence his ministries. Everyone agrees that these Methodist preachers left the conference with the resolve to change the world by establishing the largest Protestant denomination in the world, a reflection of God's honor to Wesley's spiritual dedication to fasting and prayer. Rotational fasting is rarely used in Christian circles as it is primarily for medical purposes, mainly to determine a person's reaction or allergy to specific food groups to cleanse their system. The patient usually fasts normally or completely for 1 day, and then for 6 days only one new food group is introduced and consumed each day, helping to determine which food is causing a physical problem through elimination and exclusion. When choosing a fast, several factors need to be considered. Think about your specific situation before deciding on the best approach for you. If this is your first time fasting, as mentioned previously, I recommend starting with a 1-day fast on Yom Kippur. If you wish to fast for a longer period of time to address a serious or ongoing issue, perhaps fasting 1 day a week for 3 weeks would be preferable to starting with a 3-day fast. Remember, if this is your first fast, you are embarking on an unfamiliar journey and should proceed with caution as you learn new skills and attitudes for your body and soul. Your first fast should be a normal fast where you eat nothing and only consume liquids for a day. This practice will help train your body not to react negatively if you later eliminate both food and liquid. You should try to match the reason for your fast with the type of fast. Choose a normal fast for a routine request. Choose a fast with more stringent requirements for a more serious problem. You should feel at peace with both the duration and type of fasting. Obviously, when deciding what to eliminate during prayer, you should not doubt yourself or feel guilty about doing something wrong. Choose a type of fast that allows you to feel comfortable with your decision. Several factors influence your decision to fast or the duration.